Luxurious. Heat Nation. Yeah. Murcielago. Down to Biscayne. Yay. Five on the floor. Ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing. You can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars. Wearing bubble frauds. Down to Biscayne. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, Inspire have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
Welcome back to another episode of Five on the Floor. I'm your host, Greg Sylvander. Today's floor plan with me, Brady Hawk. We're going to recap the Heat's last game in California. Yep, we are recapping Summer League, y'all. They played the Golden State Warriors, and they came up victorious. We're going to go through the game, what we saw from some of the young players. Before we do, want to shout out Off the Floor. That's our Discord server. There's more than 10 channels, and people are talking Heat in every different way possible, all here at Off the Floor. It's via Discord. You can go to the link right here in the description of this episode. $2.99 a month, $3.99 on your Apple device. This is where you need to be. We are providing host updates. That could be trade rumors. That could be inside information in terms of what's happening in the building when Brady and Alex are there. You never know what you might get that way, but also it's the place where you can go and talk Heat 24/7, the most Heat anywhere. Check out Off the Floor. That is our Discord server. I'm giving it a major shout out to start this episode. Shout out to all of our people in the chat during the games too, even the Summer League games. I mean, we got 100 sometimes up to 200 people chatting in the main thing chat all about Summer League games. And this one, the Heat won ultimately. I mean, the final score is pretty meaningless, but what was it here? 93-79. The Heat win the game. And it was one, Brady, where they won on the back of two guys that I think most Heat fans are hoping get the opportunity to show that they can contribute this year. And one of them is Pelle Larsson. The other is Keshad Johnson. They both had really good games. We're going to get into the rest of the roster, but let's start up here at the top. Particularly these two guys, because I think that they have paths to roles on this team because of their skill set, specifically some of what Johnson does athletically, what Larsson does just playing into contact. I like both of these prospects. What were your thoughts on the way that they played today?
Yeah, I'll start with Pelle just because he's kind of been the most interesting to me, just because what you want to see in Summer League is your guy just look like he sets himself apart from the others among Summer League, and that's what Pelle did. I mean, he just looks like he's at a higher level than a lot of them. The fact that he plays this role off the ball as a slasher, cutter, and does all this stuff in the regular season, then he comes here to Summer League, and they put the ball in his hands, and he looks just as good doing that. And that's kind of what you always want to see with those type of guys. But to your point, like the thing that sticks out to me more than anything is the finishing, the attacking, the fact that he's a literal bowling ball anytime he gets the ball in his hands, that he's just finding a body to run into. I swear I said it last time, he's on the floor 24/7, but it just kind of shows like how hard he goes at it. Like he just really gets after it in the way he attacks, and he could finish through stuff. He had a nice couple nice passes on the pick and roll where he hit a lob over the top. I just like what you're seeing there. I know I kept saying in kind of the earlier Summer League games, I'm like, you want to put him off the ball a little bit because I want to see the spot up shot, but it's hard to do that when he's their best player on the floor. Like he's going to have to put the ball in his hands and just go make plays like that. So it's some promising stuff. And honestly, when I'm watching him play and I'm seeing the growth, I'm saying that's like a rotation guy next year. Like that's the first thing I think of when I'm watching him. In a lot of ways, it's going to come down to Pelle or Jaime, to be honest. Like that's what it's ultimately going to come down to next season off the bench, it feels like. So that's going to be an interesting matchup to monitor in training camp, but we're far away from that. And then the other guy, Keshad, I mean, there's been some, I don't think it's going to happen, but I've seen deals get thrown around where like Wiggins gets moved and Haywood's in the deal kind of thing.
Yep.
And if that is the case, you have a guy in the fold that could do similar things. The issue is I want to push back the brakes. I've seen that comp get thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
He's not the same player at
No.
all. Like he's just a similar size and a good defender. That's the only comparison you can make to kind of plug in. But what I'm saying from Keshad is he's a fun player to watch. He's explosive. He can play above the rim. Fast breaks are fun. He's a good back cutter. He knows good team guy, good glue guy. All of that stuff we know. But I'm still wondering what his role is going to be in the half court. Like if things slow down, he's the guy that's sitting in the corner and he's not as active on the ball as a screen setter or anything, a handoff guy. If he's kind of that guy, he has to be able to hit spot up shots at a high level. And that's what it's ultimately going to come down to. And I'm still just curious to see that. I want to see the shot like really look good in summer league. That's kind of my biggest thing. Honestly, more than what the other guy we're going to talk about is Kasper's, but I really want to see Keshad's 3-point shot, spot up shot get going. I think that's what can take his game to the next level in terms of playing on this roster. But aside from that, he's been a fun player to watch. Just the energizing moments and the defense has been good.
The Heat need as much athleticism like Keshad brings. And today, I mean, 2 of 5 from 3, 6 of 9 overall. So to your point, like he had a good shooting game. I think that there's been other uneven games where I agree with you. Like you need to see it consistently, but that's the thing that if he can connect that, I see a role for him at some point in the season, because like this is a situation we're going to talk about other guys that started tonight, like Vlad Golden, where I just think in a long 82 game schedule, you're going to get guys that get minutes if you're on a 2-way contract. And Keshad Johnson is not on a 2-way contract. He is a standard contract. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to get an opportunity. And so I also, he comes with, like tonight, for instance, as I'm looking, like Pelle Larsson makes very little mistakes. Keshad Johnson, 5 turnovers. So there's still some stuff to clean up, but it is refreshing to have as athletic a player as Keshad Johnson. And I also think that when Spo sizes down inevitably and staggers Ware and staggers Bam, obviously, I think that there's going to be a shot for him. So it is fun to see those guys progressing at a way, and we're not even in Vegas yet, but at least we're seeing good moves from both of those guys. We're going to get to the rest of the roster and a rookie who's having a really tough start to Summer League in a moment. But before we do, want to shout out Prize Picks. That's the official daily fantasy partner of 5 Reasons Sports Network and 5 on the Floor. You got to use the code 5. That'll get you $50 instantly when you play your first $5. This is the game where you choose your favorite players from your favorite sports. You can choose all different sports, mix them up, do flex plays, power plays, and you choose your favorite player, favorite statistic, and then more or less on each statistic. You can win up to 10 times your money. You got to use the code 5, though. That'll get you $50 instantly when you place your first $5. So you got to go to prizepicks.com or download the app. 5 is the code. Don't forget it. That's the daily fantasy sponsor of 5 on the Floor, prizepicks.com. So it's unfortunate. Actually, before we go to the unfortunate, Vlad Golden showed stuff today that I think is worth noting. The fact that he already was given a 2-way means that he probably was in contention for a 2-way elsewhere, or even a standard contract. I don't know if I want to go that far, but for the Heat to jump on it that fast, they had to have an indication that that was something that they maybe on their draft board expected him to be drafted, and he was not. To that point, he's shown, I think, some flashes here of a guy who can finish, can catch around the rim. I have questions defensively still. What are your thoughts so far on Vlad Golden? I'm making the prediction now. We're doing this episode on July 8th, so this is going to be the dog days of summer, that he gets regular season minutes, because in an 82 game schedule, it just comes like that. Your thoughts on Golden so far and today specifically?
As we were texting about it, it's not crazy to say that just because he's literally right now as it stands, they're back up big. Like he's the kind of guy that's like next in line, because that area is just so thin on this roster that they don't. I know that we expect them to kind of get a guy to kind of play that role, whether trade or just kind of filling that last roster spot. But as of right now, it does seem like he could kind of slot in. There's certain spots. But I'll say this about him because yes, he's maybe a little slower defensively at times if like he gets caught in a switch or he's trying to contain like that. All that stuff is there, but that stuff's always there with these type of bigs, especially guys that are coming up undrafted and into two-way contracts. So there's that part of it, but he does a lot of like small things really well, specifically offensively, like that you're watching him do. Like there was some plays early in the game, like the first play of the game was Pelle Larsson and Vlad Golden pick and roll. Pelle Larsson gets downhill and Vlad Golden like sets like a Gortat screen where he just screens off his own big man. And it leads to a wide open layup. And it happened like 3 times in this game where Golden was like walling off like under the basket, the guy under the basket. So they'd lead to a wide open layup. Like it was happening time and time again. And when you just see like a player like that, that's able to kind of figure out the little things within the offense, he had some offensive rebound stuff. I just think he's an active big man. He's just somebody that you kind of could see being developed. And that's always kind of the key around here. Like not to compare to other guys, but like when I look at a guy like Dane Danger, who had a big game last game, we talked about kind of the positives of his game.
Mm-hmm.
He just looks like a guy that's limited to summer league in a lot of ways where there's some things in his game that I think would get caught up at the next level if they threw him his just to get him to get a bunch of minutes in a random game.
Agree.
I don't see the same thing with Golden. I could kind of see an opportunity where he can do a lot of the little things offensively, be a handoff guy, just kind of be a dive cut guy, get around the basket, get offensive rebounds, just do a lot of that stuff. We've seen him try to stretch the floor a little bit in the first game where he shot a 3, but he keeps it simple. And that's one of the few things that the Heat like more than anything, especially with their big guys. Like Spo hates when the big guys like get out of their comfort zone and get like start acting out of character.
Do too much.
100%. So he's a guy that kind of plays his role. I could just see him being liked by this coaching staff and this team. So I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm interested to see what his offensive game looks like, if he kind of develops maybe an inside game floater, just like something within that he has like an offensive go-to, because right now I don't really see that specifically. But once he can kind of get that, I could see him kind of, he can be a guy you can kind of throw in on a random night when they're one big down.
So, anyone else on the roster you want to address? Because I mean, there were moments where Myron Gardner had some interesting defensive plays, so shout out to him. But I mean, training camp body, maybe they can take 21 into camp. Anyone else? Marcus Williams, who they scouted heavily, brought in for workouts, San Francisco, if I remember correctly. He had 10 points. I know you've been trying to see what they have in Settle. Any of those guys bring anything worth noting before we get to the final point of the show, which will be about the 2 guards who started tonight?
Yeah, so Gardner was probably the one that kind of jumps out, and you look at his stat sheet and you see he has 4 points on 2 of 4 shooting. You're like, oh well, he didn't do that much. But it did feel like you like when you see that, and then he jumps out on the screen in a game, and his stat sheet isn't that great. That's kind of a good indicator, and that kind of felt like he did. It just felt like he was all over the place. And when I talk about things that he like, they do like that. They like when a guy is just running full speed, doing everything at an insane effort level, and that's kind of what he does. And he does have. He's not like one of those defensive guys that doesn't have the ability to kind of have that offensive game to him, because he does. Like he's shown the ability in the past. Prior to Summer League, where he has a little bit of an offensive game. He has a decent looking shot. He can attack. He just has like a decent all around game. So he's the one player I could see getting Exhibit 10 and just like you said, kind of filling up the training camp thing. Like, who do you want more to kind of fill up a training camp and bother your main players in camp? You want a guy that's going to like fly around the court like Gardner did in this game, or some guy that's lazy? Like that just feels like a guy that'll be brought to camp. So that's just probably one guy to keep an eye on. Other than that, it's tough. I just think, like, I think you were just hinting at Kyra Lewis we're going to talk about, but
exactly.
So I'll save it, because he just seems like a guy, like we talked about in the last episode, like the guys like Hampton or who's the guy they just had that they just lost on the 2-way contract?
They've had Isaiah Stevens obviously just left. They had Josh Christopher.
Josh Christopher is what I was thinking of. Josh Christopher is that type of build where like it just never ends up working out with those type of guys that are like the highly talented offensive guys.
Yeah. And so to that point, it leads us perfectly into how we're going to end the show. I said we would try to get this done in 9 minutes, and to commemorate how good Larsson looked. But look at us. We're 15 minutes here, but we're going to close here. I am overseeing Kyra Lewis get the ball and not have Yakachonis get I guess more on-ball reps, but also I must say that he's having probably the shooting slump he wishes he could never have right at the worst moment. And I can't help but think that because he can't hit a shot right now, it's probably impacting like the vibes that you would feel when you're really flowing within a game and you feel confident and you're not having to think through things. So he's in his head right now. So it's a tough situation. But I've seen enough, to your point, of Kyra Lewis Jr. I hope that he finds another team to go to Summer League with. I don't see the Heat needing him, especially if Terry Rozier is going to stick around for the season. We got a guy that can do that stuff. So to your point, let's get to Yakachonis here. He's had a rough start. No, there's no, kind of sugarcoating that part of it. There's been flashes. There's been moments. There was a sweet pass in this game that got oohs and ahs early in the game. But he's been horrendous with the shooting. He had 8 fouls in this game. What do you make of this? And I guess before I ask you that, I'll just say that throughout these summer leagues, and maybe I said this on a past episode, so I'll just be repeating myself over and over as we go through the summer league. I always look for a guy to do things that make me say, "Oh, wow, that's a pro level, like a wow moment." And I just haven't had enough of that from him yet. And I think that it's probably the shooting slump that's impacting other parts of his game. Any hypothesis on what's happening there? And do you think that there's any way that they could change the way that they're using him in Vegas? Like, is there, or is that not possible at this point?
Yeah, I thought there was guys in the past that we talked about where it was more role, where we like talked about. I bring up Jovic as a good example because he was somebody that we all wanted to see put the ball in his hands, like, and stop standing in the corner. Where you can kind of see that here, but like as you said, Jovic had the flashes. Like, he had the flashes where we saw him capable of doing it on the ball. So we're like, okay, we want more of that. I'll say this because Kaspers did have some, I won't say wow moments, but he had some like very intriguing moments early in the game with some of those passes where like he got to the basket on one, got 2 people off their feet, dished it back for the dunk. He had one on Keshad on a slip screen where he kind of it was a very tight window and he got the ball. So like you see those flashes where like he has high level playmaking vision and the ability to make the passes. Like, there's no doubt about that. You could still see that, but there's still just a lack of like explosiveness offensively. There's a lack of confidence in his shot right now, as you kind of noted. It's pretty clear. I mean, what is the stat right now? I think he's 0 for 11 on threes or 0 for 10 on threes in this California Classic. I mean, it's pretty clear. He's in his head about it. Defensively, I've been more surprised than I thought I would originally. Like, I thought he would be somebody that would get bullied a lot. And I'm saying this, let me just preface this by saying he had a ton of fouls, and that's kind of what happens in Summer League because it's just such a weird version of basketball. So there's a ton of like bad fouls mixed in there, but a couple of those fouls, I don't even know if were fouls. Like, he had a couple that were probably steals where he got like a clean hand on the ball and almost got a steal. Like, I actually have liked some of the defensive stuff we've seen compared to what my expectation was. But he's kind of been below my offensive expectation for him before kind of seeing him in Summer League. So to answer your question, do I see like a change in role? Not really. Like, I just don't like, I still think I agree with you. I'm just kind of, when I talk about Kyra Lewis, it's like, yeah, he has moments where he could score and stuff, but like, we kind of know what Kyra Lewis is. Like, that's kind of my issue. Like, the Summer League should be about guys that like you still want to see more of. You're intrigued to kind of see what, like, you can get a different take on a guy heading into the next season. And I just don't love the idea of like a ton of on-ball reps for Kyra Lewis because I feel like it's taking away from other guys. I'd rather see Kaspers deal with, extra, bodies and extra help and maybe add a few more turnovers to his stat sheet, but like make him figure it out. Like, let him kind of see these different levels of defense. So I don't really know how to evaluate it. It's just kind of a tough look right now because he just seems like he doesn't have that like extra level offensively right now. And maybe all it takes is like 1 or 2 shots going in, and then maybe he kind of just gains that confidence that he had in college, but we just haven't seen that yet. And I honestly thought, because I'll say this as well, one of the things that jumped out to me when I watched him in college was like he could draw contact on his way to the basket. He could almost like foul bait in a way. Like he finds a way to get to the free throw line by being aggressive. He did that on back-to-back possessions in the first quarter where he was able to do that. He got to the line back-to-back times. I'm like, okay, maybe this is what it'll take to kind of get him in an offensive flow. Maybe it's just getting to the line a few times, seeing the ball go in, and it didn't end up happening here either. So, yeah, I'm still looking for him just to kind of see the ball go in a few times, and maybe it'll turn it up a notch. But the playmaking, it was a couple of moments, but as you said, it's just not like what you'd want out of your first rounder. It's not a ton of wow moments. Like Pella's had wow moments, to your point, and like he's had moments where you like say to yourself, okay, like this guy's got something to him, even though it's the second year.
Yeah, it's the translatable stuff. And I don't want to downplay the moments that we've seen from him, because you can tell he has an intuitive level of playing the game and an intellect that like he's processing things really quickly. But again, he's in his head offensively. I just think that I hope that they find ways to maybe simplify stuff for him in Vegas. I don't know that they can even do that on the fly. And to your point, I don't know what the lineups are going to be, or if Khalil Ware, maybe the fact that he didn't play today is an indication that maybe we'll see him in Vegas a little bit. I was, encouraged to see that he sat today, because there's now, I think, a chance you could see him in Vegas. So we'll see. And that could also help getting more of the regular rotation guys out there. It's a tough start for the Rook, but at the same time, he's not playing with a bunch of professional players. He's playing with players he's never really played with before, and he's in the midst of a really bad shooting slump. And sometimes like that perfect storm is a rough start, but I think you can kind of settle down, leave California, start fresh in Vegas. Hopefully we see a new game from him. Brady, thank you for your time. The Miami Heat end up getting the victory in the California Classic over the Golden State Warriors, led by Keshad Johnson and Pelle Larsson. We will have you covered for the rest of Summer League, and we also will have shows popping up left and right, because as we are recording this, honestly, Ethan and Alex are recording a separate episode to post relatively close to the same time. So we're coming at you from all angles. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to our listeners. Peace.